Hi, beautiful human. I'm Zach. That is Dan. And today we welcome to the studio an icon. Say hello to Mary Elizabeth Winstead, everybody.
Hey.
Hello. I mean, we're here to talk about The Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
Yes.
This is a remake of a 1992 thriller, but it definitely feels like a whole new conversation. And it feels very much rooted in truth and motherhood. And it's scary as shit, dude.
Yeah.
It's really... It's dark. Can you explain to me your relationship with this character? Because it's also falling into your plate at a very unique time in your life. What's your relationship with all of it? And did you watch the original?
Well, first, I got the script, as you do, from my agent. And kind of right off the bat, I was like, I was intrigued. But, cautiously intrigued, I guess, because... you just never know with a kind of a genre piece that's got two women pitted against each other. It's kind of like, okay, what's this going to be? But, I see, okay, it's a female director. Interesting.
So you didn't know it was a remake?
I knew it was a remake.
Okay.
But I had never seen the original. So I was familiar with the title. I was familiar with I remembered when it came out. I have like visions of memories of like the trailer coming out and like people talking about it and, ooh, what's this? And I can remember the feeling of like being younger and going, this is like some movie that's getting people talking. And, I was aware of the original, but I hadn't seen it. So I read the script and I was just blown away. I was like, there was so much empathy for the characters, for all of the characters, which is something I'm always drawn to in a script, and in a director and a collaborator, like anything. It's just like having empathy for the people in your story. Like to me, that's really an interesting place to start from. And horror doesn't always have that, Horror sometimes... it depends on the type of horror film. There's lots of different kinds of horror films within the genre, but sometimes people can be a bit disposable in that genre. So reading something where it was just like you just felt for everybody in it.
Disposable is like such an interesting word to use.
Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, when you're watching something where it's like there's a lot of people dying, they're getting killed off and this and that, it's sometimes you can feel like you can't care about them too much. Or else you wouldn't really be able to sit through it.
But here you do.
But here you do.
You form a relationship with both Caitlin and Polly and the entire family.
Yeah, I know. And that's what was so beautiful about it was that even Polly, who's like the quote unquote villain of the story, I think was seen through a pretty empathetic lens by the time you kind of get through the whole film and you're sitting with the whole experience of it, which I thought was a really unique thing.
But even Caitlin, right? Like she's not a clear hero.
Yeah.
She's also not a clear victim. She's incredibly layered and really complicated.
Very, which is what I loved so much. Like she's kind of like, she is this person at her core, but then she's layered up all these other things on top to cover up who that person is because she has a lot of shame around that. So she's kind of presenting herself as this perfect mother and wife, and she's achieved this level of success, and she's really grasping onto what that all means, and that somehow will, be a good cover for what she's trying to run away from. And that's just like, those are my favorite kind of characters, is to play people who are not exactly who they're presenting themselves to be.
How much of Caitlin's fears and anxieties do you actually relate to now that you are a mom yourself?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think any parent, you watch a film that's, essentially a horror film kind of around the idea of parenthood and the anxieties around parenthood. It's like you relate to it instantly, like, because for me, my only real fears now are everything having to do with my child and anything happening that could go wrong, anything negative that could happen in his life, also anything that could go wrong in our relationship. And all of those things are played upon in the film, going from just her sometimes feeling like she's not fully connected to her children to feeling like she's going to lose them completely. So it's like quite, an arc of fear, playing throughout the film around motherhood.
And it exists a little bit before Polly comes into the picture, right? Because there is this stress and anxiety around, to hire a nanny or a babysitter
Yes,
in
yeah.
any capacity.
Yes.
That's a huge decision.
Huge. And then, bringing them into your home, into your like personal space. And it's a really delicate thing. And, in this particular instance, it's almost like she feels this instant connection with Polly. And so she's a bit blinded to maybe what some of the red flags are, or she doesn't quite go down the road of looking into her as much as she should, because she just has this like
the
connection.
first reference check was total hogwash. It was like you could feel it from the second your character's on the phone, and like you're barely getting answers. You're getting nothing.
Yeah. That's good. I like her, so she'll be fine.
And then she rolls up in her car, and it's like everything starts to unravel.
I know. Yeah. From pretty early on, you start having these moments of uncomfortability, and you kind of see too. I really also liked what they're playing with this sort of. Caitlin has a bit of this like privilege guilt a little bit, and so that is coming back to bite her, because she's a bit like she doesn't want to see anything negative about Polly, because she thinks, oh, that'll reflect badly on me if I think negatively about someone who has less than I do. So I'm just going to fully embrace her, even though there's all these red flags, but her guilt about how she has so much and she's so successful kind of keeps her in this place of like, I'm just gonna go with it and bring this person into my house and give them everything that they want, because she's dealing with all these different layers of guilt in her life.
You quite literally paved the path for Scream Queens in the like early 2000s and throughout the entire like essentially like decades to follow. How is this though different from what you've done before? Like sis, like going back to your soap days, like. You were on like witchies. You've been in this kind of genre energy.
Yes,
from the
time.
From the very beginning.
I know, it's so
Passions
true.
is crazy.
Yeah, so crazy. It's funny because I think I'm only like marginally aware of the genre aspect of it when I'm doing it. I think there's like some part of my brain that I'm not super conscious of that's like, oh, this is a horror film and I need to tap into it in a certain way because of that. But it's not something I'm like consciously doing. It's more that it's probably just a part of me as someone who has consumed a lot of that in my life and done a lot of it in my life. And I just enjoy it. I really enjoy watching genre films, especially ones that are psychological in nature and are peeling back layers of like the human psyche and what it means to be just like a messy human being, and like metaphors for that, I think are just so interesting. And I just kind of never tire of it. And I think it just continues to be a genre that we seem to be able to kind of push the boundaries of art and make people keep thinking and questioning themselves and society and all of that. And so I love that. I love that it's a genre that can be witchy soap opera, or it can be really high art and kind of everything in between.
When you film a movie that like this, when it's this dark, is it fun?
Yeah, this was super fun and actually really like the energy on set was super light and easy. Like Michelle, our director, was just so lovely. Like she's like the loveliest, sweetest person. And it's so funny because, she makes these incredibly dark films and she's in like a punk band and she's like super hardcore, but she is like the sweetest, softest soul. And so she was just so lovely to be, to have a leader like that. And, after we would do a take, her like go-to line was like, I love it. And just like that energy, amidst all this like, just like heavy, just, raw stuff was so nice to have. And she just kind of let us just be and like, just let it be really real and true and honest. And I think anytime that's the energy, then it just feels really good. And you just go home feeling like, okay, I just did something really cathartic and now I get to go relax. It doesn't feel like heavy or a burden or anything like that. It just feels really fun to do.
Well, I don't want to be wrong in this, but this is her first major studio project.
Yeah. It's her first, I believe, like first English language film as well. Yeah.
Like, can you explain what it's like working with a director who's at this stage in their career? Because you have worked with, I mean, are you like Quentin Tarantino, Ang Lee, Edgar Wright? Like this is like you've been around some of the most
Yeah.
prolific individuals. So how does it compare?
You know, it's so individual, and Michelle just happens to be like such a true artist, and so I just put her right up there with the best people I've ever worked with. Even though she's more new to it, you would never, ever, ever know it by working with her. She's so assured of herself, and she's so. I feel like she's somebody who could be an artist in any form, like she just sees the world through an artistic lens, and I've just have so much respect for that. It's like, I feel like she could be a painter and like she is a musician as well, or like, like people that just kind of live and breathe like art, and you could put them into any sort of situation and they would see it kind of that way. And I think that's a really beautiful thing.
Are you the same way? Because you're a musician too, by the way.
I am sometimes musician. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, come on. You've worked with real deal producers too. Like,
Yeah.
you got to give yourself some credit.
I've had some moments of dabbling in it. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I guess I definitely do feel like I'm an artist in the sense that like that's all I'm really interested in doing is like creating things. But I'm not sure I don't feel like I'm like a musician per se. But I have dabbled in it.
You did ballet?
I did in my much younger days.
Are there any similarities between the three art forms?
Yeah, I think so for sure. I think ultimately it's all like creative expression, and so even when I was doing ballet, what I really loved about it was like playing characters and telling stories, and I loved the movement of it as well, but it was kind of the storytelling part of it that really drew me in, and becoming someone and going through something on stage. And so I kind of realized pretty early on that acting was that's what I was doing, even though it was ballet, that ultimately what I was really doing was acting, and that's kind of the path I wanted to go down.
When you realize that, what is your first step? Like, what do you do next?
Well, for me, I was a kid really when I started doing it. So I have that, I come from that lens of just like being, 10, 11, 12 and going, I want to act. And having my mom kind of at first being like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know,
You're in North Carolina, you're in Utah.
Yeah.
Like you're not in like thriving Hollywood metropolis.
Yeah, no, not at all. But I had a friend who was like doing local commercials, and stuff like that. And we were just such a big movie household. And I think I realized really early on that like kids can be in movies, be watching a movie and be like, there's a kid, like, what's that kid doing there? Like, there's that kid, like, there's a kid, in the movie. And start like putting things together and going to my parents and being like, I want to do that. And so after a while, they kind of acquiesced and, found out who my friend's agent was and took me over to meet with the agent. And then I just started doing little local gigs, essentially. And I was just very convinced I was going to be an actor from the get-go. I was just one of those like a little bit overconfident of a kid. And really was like, people would be like, where are you going to be when you grow up? And I'd be like, winning an Oscar, just like a little bit like of a cocky 10-year-old in that sense.
But you still classified yourself as a little shy, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably that classic thing of like, I was a really outgoing kid and then a really shy teenager, like puberty sets in and then suddenly the walls go up and you're like,
totally.
Things change. So I was like a very confident out there, always performing kid. And then around 12 or so, I kind of became much more internal. And that's when acting kind of became the outlet in a different way. It was less about like the razzmatazz like when I was a kid, and much more about like, oh, I'm actually finding a way to like channel my emotions, and this is really interesting. And it became much more of like an emotional kind of connection that I had with it.
Is it still that today?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's much more about emotional connection and like an outlet, for something than like an outward feeling like I'm performing, like even though that was what kind of was like the bug when I was little, what ultimately I fell in love with was something else.
Do you feel like being a mom changed the type of emotions you put into the role, or at least changed the way you approach vulnerability on the screen?
For sure. I mean, especially with like playing a mom. I mean, that's and it's not to say that, I wasn't able to kind of tap into that before. I mean, we can all play characters that aren't exactly like who we are, of course, but when it is something that you've gone through that is so profound and you're playing a character who you can connect with on that level and understand, it just makes it so easy. Like it's just so. I mean, it's like I watch this film and it goes to so many intense emotional places, and I'm just like, it's one of the easiest things I've ever done. Like I can't look at it and say like, God, that was such a challenge, and I like killed myself to get there and stuff. I just showed up and did it because it was just like so easy to tap into what that would be like, to go through that as a mother,
There is like this silent dread, and like it's hard to explain to your character. Like she very rarely raises her his voice. It's like
Yeah.
it's this intensity that's different than a typical horror, right? Like there's no screaming. Like you know what I mean? Like it's different.
It's quiet and it's a slow burn.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's something about it, even when I was doing it, like, and especially when I would get glimpses of playback and stuff, I was like, God, I feel like I'm doing like a foreign film or something, like this does not feel like I'm doing like a Hollywood horror film. Like I feel like I'm doing like a French film or like, it just feels very like
Real.
like real. Like we're just being allowed to just be like real people. How these people would really behave and really act and really interact, and the subtleties of that. We're being allowed to be like incredibly subtle and real, and that's like a gift as an actor to not have anybody kind of going, that was great, but could you just make it a little bigger so we all know what you're thinking? It's like it's so nice when it's like, no, I mean people don't behave that way. People are much more internal and much more hidden behind something else.
And that's like something that the director lays the foundation for, right?
Totally. Yeah.
She allows that.
Yes. And to have that like fully supported was such a dream. Like, to have her just like to have her trust like our performances, and for her to just sit back and go like, oh yeah, like, that's spot on, and to not, micromanage or not sort of kind of like, I think a lot of times when you're getting those kind of notes, it comes from somewhat of a lack of trust of like, I don't trust that the audience is going to get what you're doing unless you make it like overly clear, and she just had that trust that like the audience would connect with us because it was real and true, and that's all that really mattered.
What is it like working opposite Micah, right? Like that is, and did I say her name right?
Yeah.
Told you.
Yeah. You were having a discussion.
I'm so stressed. Also, my producer right now is in my ear. She's like, ask if she's seen the original. We definitely talked about it.
We covered
We covered
that.
it. We covered
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
We talked about it at the very beginning.
You said that you hadn't watched
I
it.
hadn't.
Yes.
Oh, but
Did you go
maybe
back and watch it
that's the
afterwards,
question.
or did you like want to build a character yourself?
Yeah, so I there we go. There, now
Okay,
we figured it out.
We're listening.
So after I read the script and I was so blown away by the script, I kind of Googled the original.
Okay.
Because I was curious just from a plot standpoint, like how similar it was, because this one was so striking, like just what happens and where it ends up and all of that. And when I read the plot, I was like, oh, this is so different. Like just in terms of the backstories of the characters and why this all happens essentially was completely different. And so for that reason, I wanted to stay away from it because my character is coming from such a different point of view in terms of where she's come from in her life, and the Polly character is coming from such a different point of view in terms of her backstory and why she's doing what she's doing. And that ultimately is all that really kind of matters for me as an actor. Like, so I didn't really feel like I needed to watch it, and I felt like it was probably better if I didn't, because the story ultimately that we were telling was pretty different, even though, we're still the essential plot of a nanny coming into a house and wreaking havoc is completely taken from the original. The story that we're telling around who these women are is very different.
What are the challenges, though, of doing a remake based off the same name of a prior film?
It's probably more challenging from like an outside perspective that I'm not involved in, a marketing perspective, a viewership perspective. Like that's all stuff that's not really part of my job. And
Honestly, I didn't even know.
I didn't know either.
I was born in 93.
Wow.
So like
To me, this is an original movie.
Yeah, this is new to me.
That's amazing. And I guess that's part of why these, it's a popular thing to do at the moment, is because you're like, you're trying to capture people who are familiar with the original and also a new generation. And so hopefully, that people will be interested in seeing, okay, they're taking this idea that's like very well known from this iconic film and doing something new with it.
New life.
Yeah, I hope so.
So what is it like working with Maika? I mean, Maika is also this really becoming this iconic scream queen. Very known for, some of the coolest movies. It Follows, Watcher, Longlegs. Like, can you explain, one, the first meeting, and two, can you confirm that you did keep your space on set intentionally? Is that real?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I mean, we definitely had a great kind of, working relationship from the get-go. Like we all met up together, Micah, myself, and Michelle, and sort of went over a few of the key scenes, and we talked about them, and we talked about any issues we might have or questions we might have. And we were all so on the same page in like a really exciting way. And it felt like such a cool collaboration. Like we all knew exactly the film we wanted to make.
Like, what does it mean to be on the same page? Is it like not having questions or concerns? Is it just syncing up creatively?
I think it's having the same, the script was so good, but there's always like a few things where you're just kind of like, I don't really know about this line, or, I think this could be better, or I think we could change this, or we could take this out. And every single time any one of the three of us brought something up, we were all like, yes, I had the same thought. And we were always we always had the exact same sort of intentions about everything. And there wasn't a single time when one of us went, I don't know, I didn't think that. We were all just like, yes, yeah, yes,
Is
yes,
that
yes,
rare?
yes, yes. It's kind of rare. I mean, it's not that I've never experienced it before, but when I do experience it, it's so exciting because you just know it's going to make the filming of it so smooth. Like there's not going to be any false moments. There's not going to be any stopping and going, oh, wait, you think the scene's about that? Because I thought it was about something else. We all knew exactly what this movie was trying to say, and we were all making it because we knew what it was trying to say and what it was dealing with and grappling with. And even from like a filmic point of view, I felt like we all were on the same page. Like we knew what Michelle was going to be doing with it, and we were so excited about that. And I feel like Maika really has such an understanding. Like I could see her, I don't know if she wants to direct, but I could see that happening because like, she just had a really good sense of how a scene needed to be crafted and like, how like the building of something and the rising and falling in different places. And that was fun to kind of collaborate with each other on. But yeah, once we were actually on set, we kind of kept our distance from each other. I think, and that was, I think Maika kind of maybe instigated that because her character is the one who's really, coming at it from this intentional, calculated place, whereas my character, at least for most of the movie, doesn't really know what's going on. And so it kind of helped. In a way, it added to that enigmatic feeling of like, who is this person, because Maika and I weren't really interacting that much on set. So I almost had a little bit of that. Like, she's obviously a lovely person,
No, but it's a mystery.
But she was mysterious.
Yeah.
And that was kind of cool. It was kind of cool to have that reflected. Yeah.
Anybody else you've ever worked with, like kind of approach roles in a very off-camera,
right,
carry it with them sort of way?
I mean, maybe not as clearly. Like, there's definitely people I worked with where I look back in retrospect and go, oh, okay. like they were behaving in this way, maybe to try and keep themselves in a certain headspace, and maybe I didn't realize it in the moment, but realize it almost later when you realize that, oh, that's not actually their real personality. Like, when you see them in other
it's technique
contexts. Yeah, it's like, it's technique, and I feel like I've had people tell me that I'm like semi-method, which is I'm not super conscious of, but if I'm like playing a role where it's just like somebody where it's pretty dark, then I'm just a little bit more inside myself than I normally am. Like I don't, I'm not like taking myself away or anything like that, but I'm just a little bit more like I keep people slightly at more of a distance. But I felt with this one, I didn't quite have to do that as much because so much of the film is like her trying to have this like happy family, So I did kind of focus more on hanging out with Raul, who plays Miguel, my husband, and my daughters and things like that, and like trying to imbue the family dynamic with some real stuff.
Was there a specific role where you realized or somebody else realized that like, hey, I think you're doing it this way?
A director just told me that once. He said I was semi-method, and it hadn't occurred to me before, but then I was like, oh, I guess I kind of am. Like, it depends on the context of the role and the story and stuff, like how outgoing I am on set. Like, hopefully I'm always kind and professional. So I'm definitely never like somebody who's like, don't look at me, I'm getting into character or something. I would never go that far. But I'm a little bit like if it's something where the whole film I'm going to have to be like kind of in a dark headspace, then I'm a little bit more like, hey, thank you very much. Nice to meet you. I'm going to my trailer. See you later. Or I'm going to my chair. I'm going, I'm going to, I don't like hang out and chat and stuff like that. And so there was a director who was like, I noticed you're semi-method. You're like, you're keeping yourself sort of in the headspace. And it wasn't something I was even really that conscious of. And I was like, oh yeah, I think I do that. But I wasn't really that aware that I did it, I guess.
It works.
But yeah.
Any method when it came to Ramona Flowers?
I was going to ask that. Any mystery energy seeping into real
energy. I doubt it. I don't think I had really fully honed the craft just yet by then. I was still figuring it out.
Dude, the pastels. He really was a Tumblr icon. Did you realize in the moment when like that she'd live forever?
No. Oh God, no. I mean, certainly you hope that things will be successful, and I definitely had lots of people saying at the time, like, this is going to change everything, and this is a huge movie, and your career's going to change overnight, and all those kinds of things that I now know are just like almost never true.
But they kind of were, no?
No, I mean, you're probably too young to know because, but when it came out, it was, nobody saw it.
But it becomes over time. This thing that is embraced.
Yes.
In a
which is
way.
Amazing. Yeah.
And I guess it is like almost like a generation late to a certain degree.
Exactly right.
It is accepted and seen as this like, one, this cult classic, but two, like would go on to like really inspire a generation of creatives. So many people have come on our show and they cite that movie as reference or inspiration.
Well, it is such a like great reminder that good, like truly good, innovative art like lives on. Like it just does, and like people find it, and it finds a way to kind of be discovered and rediscovered. And I think that's just it is just such a great movie. And even though it just didn't like connect with audiences when it came out, it's just one of those things that's gonna live on, and I'm so happy I got to be a part of it.
Was there a moment where you realized that though, where like, okay, this thing really is like it connected, it finally connected, and this thing could really like kind of stay lit forever?
I think probably like, I mean, I realized it before this, but it definitely like really hit home around the like 10-year reunion of it, when we got together and we did like a read through of it on Zoom and things like that. And it just felt like an even bigger deal than it had been before in a way. And I had never experienced anything like that before in my career, like 10 years on, like having people just being like, oh my God, like so excited for us all to be back together and all of that. So that was really special. And I think that's when I realized like, oh, this is going to stand the test of time, like for real, which is a really, really cool thing.
How do you feel about the manic pixie dream girl label that people sometimes give Ramona?
Yeah, it's funny because to me, Ramona was always like a commentary on the manic pixie dream girl rather than an actual manic pixie dream girl. And, because I always thought she was a bit more of a tragic figure in a way. And it's, in a film, you only have so much time to spend with each character. So you can't sort of like go into her whole backstory and all of that. But in terms of what I thought about her when we were making it was that it was just kind of sad. Like she had all these people going after her, but like none of them actually knew anything about her or really cared to get to know her or anything. They just sort of projected their ideas of what she was onto her. And I felt like she carried the weight of that and that it was like a drag for her, She was just like, okay, here we go again. They're going to fight and it's just something that follows me around and I have no idea why and it actually kind of sucks. And so I always felt that I felt a lot of empathy for her in that way of just like, she's just kind of, that's what she liked about Scott because she was kind of hoping he was just like more of a normal guy who maybe would want to actually get to know her. And so in a way, there's like a lot of disappointment around that for her, but that was just my interpretation.
What did you learn from that experience that you carry with you still?
I think being a woman in my 20s, like I could relate to that in a way, of like being feeling like a projection of other people's ideas, and being a young actress as well. It's sort of like, okay, we're going to put you in this box and put you in this box and you're this and you're that. And I'm always kind of feeling like I don't think I am any of those things. And so I definitely related to Ramona in that way. And it made me think a lot about that. And I think after making that film, I was like trying to kind of break out of those boxes myself. So I guess in a way I was sort of inspired by her.
Like to think about how that movie was received to then how it really was received is really, really something else.
Amazing. And it was so special doing the anime series that we did a couple of years ago, which was really, I sort of felt like I got to bring that kind of version of Ramona that I'm talking about, which is how I saw her. I kind of we got to show that a little bit more and delve into that a little bit. And that was very like emotional experience to be like, oh yeah, these are these characters that have like lived with us all this time, since we made the movie. And to get to kind of grow with them and see them grow up. And that was like such a special thing.
Well, I feel like with Death Proof, it kind of had the same reaction too, where people didn't fully understand at first, and then as it's gone on, people are like, "Oh, I get it now."
Yeah.
Why do you think that movie had kind of a similar reaction?
I don't know. I mean, I think it was definitely, Quentin was like kind of going out on a limb and doing something that was maybe just a little. He was like having fun and experimenting, and it maybe didn't. Maybe wasn't what people had come to expect from his movies. And I think that's maybe a tricky thing when you're such an auteur and you're like known for doing a certain thing and then you're putting something else out that is kind of out of left field. So I think it was probably a little bit of that, a little bit of, when it came out, it was two movies put together and maybe people weren't really ready to sort of to take that on. So it's just like ideas that you try that you kind of go, oh, okay, people maybe, it wasn't really what they were going for at the time. But yeah, I hope that people are continuing to find that one as well. I think it's a really fun, crazy ride of a movie. And, it's maybe not like one of his sort of like epic films, especially that he's come to be doing these days. But I think it has its place for being kind of, special for what it is.
By the way, Final Destination 3, Black Christmas, The Thing. You're in a bunch of movies. Also, Live Free or Die Hard, A Good Day to Die Hard. I love you in those movies. So great. I mean, I love the entire franchise.
Yes.
And you're also like, you're taking on the daughter role, which we hadn't seen for a while in the franchise. It was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was so exciting for me to get to play his daughter and to get to, I like watched all, I mean, I loved all the films already, but I sort of, would watch them and try and like pick up some of his mannerisms. And, as like a young actor, that was just like a dream to get to show up and kind of feel like, oh, I've done my research. And like, I was so proud of that. And to get to do that with him, it was so great.
What did you learn from him?
Gosh, he's just such a pro and such a star. And I had never been around that before, like somebody who just kind of like walks on set and like turns it on in a way that just like they know they're so dialed in and they know exactly kind of what they're doing and how to like express something for the camera, and sort of watching how he did that by doing so little. I mean, like he was almost imperceptible, some of the things he would be doing with his face and his expressions. But on the camera, it's like huge. It's like everything. And it's so special and charismatic. And so just seeing how it doesn't have to be big. It can be the tiniest little twinkle in your eye. But like that's enough. Like as long as you like really know a character and you're really dialed into it, like that can be enough to make something iconic, I
was gonna wonder, like, how do you channel that? And like the only way to do it is by being totally dialed in, right?
Being dialed in, and if you're lucky enough to just be like super charismatic, like Bruce Willis.
Yeah. That's by the way, like you are like an action hero. Like you have turned. Like, correct me if I'm wrong a little bit on timeline. Like you go from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and then you go into Smashed, right?
Yeah, a couple years after that, a few years after that. Yeah.
That's like, I mean, does that role change you creatively? Because that is totally
Yeah.
different. I mean, very stripped back, and like the stylization is different. Like it's just a woman trying to get sober.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of, what I was saying after Scott Pilgrim is when I was kind of like, yeah, I'm ready to step outside of this kind of ingenue thing. Like I never really saw myself that way. I think I always felt a little bit more, I guess, like a character actor, but but had a kind of more of an ingenue look. And so I was always kind of pushed in that direction, but I always really wanted to just act and like, just like really be weird and like, like get to do all kinds of different things. And, so I kind of sought Smashed out. Like I sought out the producer who was doing it, because he had done a lot of like really great sort of independent films. And so I had a meeting with him and he was like, hey, I've got this script if you want to have a look at it and like do a tape or something. And I was just like, yes. So I was so excited to do that. And then just like doing it was just the most incredible experience because the director, James Ponsoldt, is just brilliant. And he's such a kind of an actor's director. And I'd never really done something up to that point that was like really just about performance. I'd been very lucky. I'd done a lot of films. But they had been films that had like lots of elements to them, action, this and that, like a lot going on. And this was just about these characters and their lives and really nothing else. So in that sense, all I had was just myself and my craft as an actor. And that was a really special thing just to get the time and the chance to do that, and to have somebody there with me who was just on that ride with me just as an actor and a director and, my fellow actors and nothing else. That was really special and was definitely like a seminal point for me because I really just wanted to continue working that way as much as I could. And I obviously went back to action and horror and all other stuff too. But at the same time, it gave me something to hold on to throughout all those other things in terms of like something that I had built upon at that point.
Like, what do you prove to yourself in that moment?
Yeah, I guess that I could do it, in a way that felt good to me. That, I just always wanted to know if I could give a performance like that I felt good about. And I felt like I did. I felt proud of that film and of the performance and of what we all made together. And I think that's a special feeling because you don't have a lot of other bells and whistles to rely on. You know, you can make a film and that just really is about the characters, and it's like a new point of pride because of that, I think. You can take a little bit more ownership of the film as a whole, whereas when something is about the explosions and the this and that, you sort of feel like, yeah, I was in it, but I didn't have much to do with.
Well, you're really there for
it.
the
yeah,
guns and stuff
exactly.
and the death and you know.
Yeah. But on this, you know, you sort of feel like, wow, we made this movie and people liked it, and that's because we made these characters feel truthful, and that's like you feel really, it's like really rewarding, I guess. Yeah.
How does it feel to know that this career that you really had wanted to do your entire life has given you like so much more than just a career? Like it's how you found love. It's how you've built your family.
I know.
It's literally woven through, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, like every ounce of who and what you are and what you've built, right? To a certain degree.
Yeah. I'm just incredibly lucky, that I've been able to do a job for a living that is like what I love to do, and has, like you said, it's you know, brought me everything I have in my life, really. It's and now that's become much more my life than my job was, you know, which when I was younger, that was my job was really kind of maybe the biggest part of my life, or, you know, the thing that was like really like the anchor was being an actor, and it still is, but it's kind of transcended that as well. But that's also thanks to being an actor. So yeah, it's amazing.
You met your husband, Ewan McGregor, on the set of Fargo.
Yes.
Do you remember the first time you actually met? like because you meet as professionals, you meet as coworkers.
Yes, yeah. I think we actually met learning bridge, because our characters were bridge players.
Obviously, that makes the most sense.
Yes, you do.
It's giving really old people already.
Yeah,
it's giving grow old. Yes.
Yeah. So we had some bridge lessons and went to some bridge tournaments.
So weird.
I know. Like, who would have thought you'd be going to bridge tournaments with Ewan McGregor? It was just like not something, you know. But that's the great thing about this job. It's like the weird things you end up doing.
Were you a Star Wars fan before meeting him and joining the franchise?
Gosh, you know, I can't say I was like a fan beyond kind of like the norm in terms of like certainly someone who enjoyed it and consumed it. And, you know, I remember the originals from when I was little, and I can remember, you know, the ones that Ewan was in from when those came out. But I wasn't like, you know, a hardcore Star Wars fan. So it's something that I've had to catch up on in the recent years of like the whole world, which has just been like, oh my God, it's such a crazy, huge universe, and incredible. It's incredible what it's become. I mean, it's like beyond, it's beyond a film or entertainment series. It's like, it's such a world in and of itself.
It's a lifestyle.
It is.
It is.
It's a way of being.
Yeah, totally. Without a doubt.
I know.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Is it scary to enter something like that, or do you feel confident?
You know, yes and no. Like doing the work is the same as doing other work for me. Like I dive in and I try to, you know, just like get into character and do the best job I can. But it is like the results of that are scarier, like whether or not people are going to like it, whether or not, you know, all that stuff, because it's just more high stakes. Like people care so much about Star Wars, and I want so much for those fans to enjoy what we're doing, because I know that there's such a love for it and there's such care. So I think for that, there's just more invested in the outcome, I guess. Whereas normally I'm kind of like, you know, I do what I do. If people like it, there's nothing I can do about it. Like, you know, whereas this, I feel a little bit like, oh God, like, I hope I don't let them down.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're going to show up to Disneyland and they're going to let you know.
Right.
You're going to walk by the Star Wars land and they're going to let you hear about it. Because
you know, what's so funny is Ewan and I did that a few years ago, and nobody like went through, did all the rides. He was just wearing a hat.
Okay. So be honest. Like,
nobody stopped.
Okay. Is that humbling? Or like I get recognized at Disneyland and I wear a hat. Okay, and I'm not Ewan McGregor.
You know what? It was even like it was like he was there for an event, so it was like it was like Star Wars Day. Like people were dressed up as him, and those people didn't.
And he's just walking by.
I think they just didn't expect him to be there that nobody was like tipped off to it. Like they just didn't, you know. it was pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing that he got away with it, you know?
Can you explain to me the type of fame that you have figured out that you have in life? Because it is like it is different, right? Like it would take me a good like cash register interaction for me to be like, oh wow, shit, I know you from like literally 12 things.
Right.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Well, that is,
and you change your hair all the time.
That is exactly the times when I get recognized is at the cash register, especially if I'm like buying a bottle of wine and I'm getting carded.
Yeah.
Happens
all the time.
Happens all the time. But those are the moments where people like somebody's looking at my ID and they're like looking up at me and looking down and they're like, Ramona Flowers? So that's almost the only time I get recognized is if somebody has my ID. Because otherwise it just doesn't, I just have, like I change my hair a lot. I looked really different depending on if I've got makeup on or not. So yeah, nobody ever knows who I am. Like, I mean, even sometimes I'll like tell somebody, you know, like, oh, I'm an actress and my name or whatever. And like, it'll just take days for them to be like, oh my God, like, you know, you were, yeah, like you said, I've seen you in 12 things. Yeah, it takes people a long time to register.
Is there a project that you've done that you wish got more love?
A lot, yeah. I mean, probably any like independent project I've done, I've wished more people have seen or just, you know, because you just put so much into them and you're proud of them, like, you know, and so you just kind of wish they got a little bit more viewership on them. I did a movie called All About Nina a few years ago where I played, it's like I play a stand-up comedian, but the movie itself isn't really like a comedy. So that took the pressure off of not having to be like, you know, super funny. But it's a beautiful film, I think, and it really has a lot to say in terms of, you know, talking about womanhood and what women go through. And I was so proud of it and proud of what the director, Eva Vivas, did with it. So that was one that I was kind of like trying to like really, you know, get out there and get people to know about.
Is it hard today to release, like, let's like forget like make a movie. Is it harder today to release a movie than, let's talk about the era of Scott Pilgrim, right? Like,
oh, so different.
Because the time attention is democratized and spread out across everything.
Yeah, it's funny. It's twofold to me because on the one hand, I miss the days of like a movie's coming out and it's, you know, it's going on the big screen because they all do, you know, going into theaters and what's the box office going to be? And there was so much excitement around it. But there was also a lot of pressure around it because of that. It was like, is the movie going to do well or is it going to tank? Like, what are the numbers going to be like? And everybody's watching it and everybody's talking about it. And now you don't feel that so much. So in a way, there's this sense of, I have no idea if anybody is seeing the things I'm doing because they kind of come out and you don't have these like big like announcements of like, here's the box office numbers. And it just sort of, it's like more content that's just going out there. So in a way, it's sort of like, oh, I wish I knew if like people were watching and enjoying this thing, but at the same time, the pressure's off. So I really like that about it. I like that we're all just making things and they go out and we hope people like them.
If it finds it, it finds
it. If it finds it. And so there's less of a sense of like worry or fear about it not doing well because we don't really know. It goes out there and we don't really know the numbers. And for me, it's different, I'm sure, for everybody in terms of where they're at and what their kind of role is, like directors and producers, and everybody's going to have a different approach. But for me, just being the actor, it makes it easier for me to just go and do my job and just move on to the next thing, you know, and I kind of like that about it.
There's a lot of stuff out there. It has created like this kind of middle flow of like movies and opportunity. Because again, there's only so many weekends in a year, right, for you to be able to release in theaters.
Yeah.
Like there are more movies coming out today than ever before.
Right.
I would think.
Yeah, I would think. And that's, again, it's like that's a twofold thing because there's so much coming out that maybe some things are getting missed, you know? And so you kind of go like, if you're really proud and excited about something, you're like, oh God, I hope this doesn't just like get just totally under the radar and, you know, kind of skipped past when people are scrolling.
That
You know,
it's so scary.
That's the part you're just like, oh, please don't scroll past, or just don't watch it also on your phone. Like, please, like we really put a lot into this, you know.
Well, because the appetite is nuts. Like every Thursday, I'm conditioned to be like, "What's new on Netflix?
I know.
What's new? If it's not new, I'm over it."
I know.
You
And
know?
it goes by so quick, and so there's, yeah, it's just one of those things. There's good and bad about it. Like I enjoy getting to just kind of do my job and not worry too much about it. But at the same time, when I really like something, I'm really like, oh, I hope that this catches on and that people give it their attention, you know?
Well, of everything you've done in your career, where does Sky High rank?
I love Sky High.
Iconic.
Yes.
Iconic. Wow. The original superhero movie in my house.
I love that. Yeah, that's another one that like has kind of lived on, you know, because like new generations, you know, kids at every age from when it came out, like still are watching it and discovering it. And so that's so great. And I think it's so good. Like I've always just thought that was such a good movie. I think it's so, and I think now, you know, people who might watch it now who don't realize it came out a long time ago might be like, oh, this is similar to a bunch of other things, but those other things came out after Sky High, you know? So I really love that movie. I think it's funny and fun, and it's just like, it was my first big film, really. It's my first film that I had like in the theaters that I got to have a big premiere for and all that, you know?
I saw it in the theaters.
You did?
I was there in New Jersey.
Nice.
I was there watching your art.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's incredible.
It's such a great movie. I love it. It's definitely high on my list of things I'm proud of.
But like it is true. Like, dude, Sky High walk. So like Gen V and the boys could run and
Totally.
all these other superhero things. Like
Yes.
they are so great.
The tongue-in-cheek superhero sort of genre. I feel like it was, you know, very early on that.
Yes, and this idea of like the superheroes existing within this like real universe and reality.
Yeah.
And, so good. So good. Genuinely, from like passions to the hand that rocks the cradle, what do you want people to look at and see from your library, your catalog, what do you want people to see from everything you've done?
Gosh. Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned a couple of them already, like the little films like Smashed and All About Nina. And then some of the TV stuff, the like season of Fargo that I did with Ewan is like one of my favorite things. You know, it was one of my favorite characters that I played. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess, you know, I've been pretty lucky that, especially in the past decade or so, I've done a lot of work that I like. You know, early on in my career, I maybe couldn't always say that. But I feel like recently I've been really lucky that I've been, you know, I've been able to align myself with projects that really feel like me and things that I genuinely like, as opposed to just kind of trying to get a job when you're first starting out and then you kind of go, ooh, maybe I'm not going to tell people about that one.
Passions is cool, okay?
Yeah.
No, like there's talking dolls and there was curses and there was a lot of witches on screen. And there was like, it was the frequency of a soap, right? So was it every day?
It was every day.
Come on.
We shot an episode a day.
Do you not like learn the most while doing that?
Yeah, for sure. That was great, like training ground just for like technical stuff. Like you got to know your lines, you got to hit your mark, and then you're just shooting, and then So that was good. At least for like learning the ropes in that sense. But I can't say that it was like deeply rewarding.
I get it.
But it was fun. It was fun. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for hanging out today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate this. What are you thinking over there?
Do you have like a house full of like cool movie memorabilia, or do you like not like to display things at home?
We do. We have a lot of Star Wars memorabilia that we don't really display it necessarily. We have a few things displayed at the moment, and it's usually like some things being displayed that's sort of the most recent acquisition that we've gotten.
Them out.
Yeah, we swap them out. They'll be like,
like, what do you got?
Yeah, like right now, because I recently there's a Hera Hot Toys that just arrived to me.
That's cool.
So I kind of have that up in my office right now. There's also like a Lego I've got a droid named Chopper, and there's like I've got a Lego. My son in the show made me like put together the pieces of the Lego Chopper, which is so cool. So I've got that also on my desk. But it probably won't stay there forever. You know, it's like it's the kind of thing where like right now I just finished the second season of that, so it's cool to kind of to have it there to look at. And there's been times in the past where we've had a couple like Obi-Wan figurines out, like hanging from a shelf or something. And then my son will just walk by and be like, oh, there's Daddy, you know. But yeah, eventually it's like, all right, we're going to put that away. And then something else will pop out. So that there's only one or two things out at a time.
Do you take things though from movie sets? Like, will you know that something's like, this is cool, I should grab it?
I don't know. Like I don't tend to do that. I think just because the like rule follower in me is so like it runs so deeply, and especially on something that's like that kind of high level, I'm like, oh,
Like, I don't want to get in trouble.
oh my God, I'm not asking for anything. But other cast members are totally like, I find out they're like, oh, I took this and I took that, and I'm like, what? You can do that? So I don't typically, unless something's gifted to me, which on the last season, my character's leather jacket was given to me. So that was really cool.
Hera's a badass, by the way.
Yeah. She's a real badass. So it's nice to have something of hers in the house.
Very cool. Also, like a cool character. Also, it's just
Yeah.
a cool thing to be a part of that universe.
So cool. So special.
Thanks for hanging.
Thank you so much.
By the way, you can watch. You can obviously watch The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. It's going to be on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I really liked it. It was really good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
And by the way, while you're there, you can also see Hera because like they're on the same thing.
That's right.
They're
That's right.
all
Just,
living harmoniously together on the same
yes,
platform.
Yeah.
We'll put a link below. Final thoughts?
I think we covered a lot here.
Yeah, thanks for hanging.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Are you kidding? Like, you're really cool. Like, you don't need to ever do this. So thanks for doing this. Like, thank you. Really. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, everybody.
Thank you,
movie set.
guys. Aw.